Hey everybody, this is Pastor Cedrick of Commitment Church, and I'm back again with Elder Marc. He is our financial director, and the last time we were together, we discussed why you should give. We had tried our best to answer that question for you, and we have a second question we want to ask you, and that is how you should give. And as elders and as a team here at Commitment, we kind of narrowed it down or narrowed the focus as it relates to maybe how you should give. And the first is this. You want to talk about that, Marc?
Yeah, so the first is, well, first let me say this. You know, we encourage people to continue to give their tithes and their offerings and sacrificial gifts. Continue to please give in that way. But in addition to that, we want you to also pray about giving towards what we're calling our financial stewardship campaign. And there's two components to that. The first one is something we're calling expunge. That word expunge means to eliminate or erase. And we're talking specifically about expunging our mortgage. We have a little bit over $137,000 left on our mortgage. And actually that's our only debt that we have at this point. We've been able to pay off almost, $40,000 in debt this year. So we're down to the mortgage, and we feel as though the Lord has told us to aggressively pursue expunging our mortgage. And so we've begun that campaign. We started 2 months ago, and the mortgage balance was a little bit over $243,000. So now we're down to $137,000.
Awesome. Praise the Lord.
Yeah. So that's the first part. The second part is expand. If you've been to our building here at Commitment Community Church, this is home to a lot of us, but I won't say completely out of space, but we're basically out of space. So,
matter of fact, we're recording. We're actually using a dual purpose room.
Yeah. So we believe that as we move forward and God sends more people of all races and cultures here, we have to expand. To be able to make room for God's people. So we have started saving money towards that effort as well. And so far, we've been able to save almost $53,000 towards that effort as well.
So if you asked us, well, what does this expansion look like? Well, honestly, we're just trying to follow the climb by day and fire by night ourselves. So we can't really put our finger on it, if you would, as it relates to what does expansion look like. But we know definitely expansion says we need space. Where that space is, how that space looks, we're just trying our very, very best to not limit God as it relates to how that looks. But I know at least one of my personal heart's desire that I've shared with Marc and the other elders and leaders is that it'd be sweet if God gives us the space to serve our district of the EFCA and be able to have a district conference here, and we can serve them and host and be able to have enough space to do that. So that's just my own personal desire and dream, at least, to be able to expand our edifice to be able to accommodate the servitude of others and other churches. But then the third, if you would, or the 2A part of this is answer the question how is just personal stewardship. You want to talk further about that? Because listen, right, we can say give towards expunge, give towards expand, but if you don't have anything to give, right, we're just chasing a dream.
Yeah, and what we're finding is there are a lot of people that have come here and they need guidance financially, different things like that. And we're fortunate here at Commitment. We have people that actually work in the financial industry, myself included. And so what we're trying to have people understand is their responsibility as personal stewards within their own households. And a big part of that is knowing the difference between what you need as a family and what you want as a family, and having spending discipline. And being able to, pay for the things that you need, which is your budget, but then save towards the things that you want,
right?
And be disciplined savers toward that, and be able to go and pay for something with the money that you've saved, as opposed to going into debt.
So early on in our marriage, Lisa and I heard someone say, we don't know where it came from, but delayed gratification. That it's okay to want certain things, but are you willing to delay the gratification of having it? So that you won't find yourself in debt, right? And then now your hands are tied. Now you can't even tithe, right? You can't even give, the basics back to God, which He deserves, because your hands are tied, because creditors are calling you, and etc. So we get that. We've been in debt. I've been in debt, And the reality is that we all have to acquire that discipline that ultimately allows you the freedom to clear debt, then that allows you to give expeditiously and generously to the work of the ministry, and in our context towards expunge and expand. You know, and also, I mean, we're realizing that a lot of people need healthy tax advice. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, and you know, it's disclaimer. You know, I'm not a CPA. You know, so you know, but it is important to make sure that we are rendering unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and so when we're sitting down and talking to people about their personal finances, we're just making sure that people are prioritizing doing things the right way. You know, not just giving or tithing towards a church, but then also making sure that they're paying their taxes and doing things on time, and even just that, paying things on time. You know, it's just amazing how many people are paying more than what they have to simply by not paying their bills on time. You know, and so things like that.
Yeah, and even if you render to Caesar what is Caesar, Caesar is actually taking your money and investing your money. Right? The more taxes you give them up front, that they're really going to give you back. Right? So the reality is, if you're receiving this humongous tax return, right? And yet the discipline, unfortunately, is you get an extra $5,000.
That's right.
You're not going to put it towards your kid's future. No. You're not going to give God more. You're really going to spend it on yourself. Well, how do I know? Because I've done it myself. Get a large return. You're not like saying, "Hey, I got this extra $5,000, $4,000, $3,000, and I'm buying all the toys and spending it frivolously." Where if I take that extra $5,000 up front, I can have an extra $100, $50 towards my kids' education, and you know, I can have another $50, $100 that my bills won't be late, right? Because I can now take that $200 and be on time with my rent or my mortgage, rather than So it's really being able to be a good steward to say, what should I keep to do the will of God with, and what should I render unto Caesar? Which the reality is, Caesar, he's going to get his no matter what. But we don't want to give him something that doesn't belong to him to hold on to, which should be in your coffers, right? So you can better take care of your family, meet your needs, etc., etc. So
and there's just two parts, things that came to mind when you were just talking about that. So when it comes to like your tax deductions from your employer, having a conversation with your human resources department to make sure that your deductions are what they should be, to make sure that you're getting the maximum amount of money now, as opposed to, like you said, delaying it and you know,
and they're making interest on your delay.
And they're making money. Exactly. But for people that do get a large tax return, it's good to go into that season with a plan. In other words, you know, we just spent X amount on Christmas or whatever, maybe taking that tax return and paying off some of that debt, or even taking part of that tax return and paying off, you know, whatever, you know, but that's a part of being a good steward personally, kind of thing. So we try to help people when they come to us and they have needs. We go through this process where we'll sit down and talk to them and try to give them the best possible advice as possible.
I think another, I guess, since we talk about taxes, is sometimes what happens in the body of Christ is that people give generously, but they don't report it. In other words, they give cash, and they don't say who it is. Right? And then the reality is, if you make $40,000, you give 10% of that, that's $4,000. The IRS is going to tax you on $40,000.
That's right.
Right? Because they believe you used all that $40,000. Rather than, no, I only used $36,000 of that. So put me in a lower tax bracket, lowers my taxes, right? And then allows me to get money back. You know, so it's important that even as you give to the work here at Commitment, that if you're giving cash, that you write your name on an envelope. You know, you can use a check, but most people don't use checks today, which I get it. And that's why in our church, again, we collect the offering in probably in a very unusual way, is that we don't pass the basket or the trays and things like that. If you come here to Commitment, if you've been here, is that we have giving stations. You're able to give in a basket, but the greeter will be waiting for you on the way out. No passing of the basket again. And even you can give online at commitmentchurch.org, or you can download the church app. So there's multiple creative ways we have laid out before you that, again, to answer the question how you can give. But again, it begins with, to help us expunge and expand. I mean, we all collectively have to be able to free up whatever God has given us to the maximum. So we can give, as you mentioned, above your tithes and offerings that you would normally give, right? And so you have anything else you want to close with, or?
Well, don't forget about text to give, by the way. When we're talking about how to give.
77977.
And the word commitment church. It's really two words, but one word together. Commitment church to the numbers 77977.
Exactly.
77. I guess my only closing comments would be, number one, thank you.
Absolutely.
For those who have given consistently throughout all of the years. We're going to be celebrating 25 years coming up next year.
Absolutely.
Which is unbelievable. It's been a blur, but in a wonderful way, But then secondly, I just encourage you to just pray and ask God how you can participate in what God is trying to do here at Commitment Church.
Absolutely. Because actually, we to your point, pray. Because we don't want you to do anything that we tell you to do. We want you to do what God is instructing you to do. And that's what He rewards. Good stuff. So again, this is Pastor Cedrick of Commitment Church, and this is Elder Marc. He is our financial director. I was going to say stewardship, but financial director of finance, however you want to label it. But he helps helps keep us on track. And if you have any questions about anything we just discussed, feel free to just email us at info@1ccchurch.org. That is info@1ccchurch.org. Thank you so much again for your spirit of generosity, and we just hope this time together has helped you.